Okiru.
Yeah, oh yeah, when I had this big conference on last weekend, um just listen to so many speakers, and there's a few points that obviously you take into account and you reflect on, because it just touches you, something that might not touch everyone else. But there's a few things that, like, 3 points, I guess, to that I got from that was like, one thing I loved was this person said, um, just don't give up on the person you're going and about to become. We sometimes, I don't know why we give up. How long do we wait for results to happen?
Mm.
And some people are so focused on the results in the short term.
Mm.
Like as I was telling my friend at the gym, and how my flexibility improved, like the body type,
Mm.
with the body type that I am.
Mm.
It's a bigger person, like a chubbier guy, but I'm able to touch my toes
Mm.
and really have a really good flex, whereas he, comparatively, he's got a leaner body and more muscular, but he
Mm.
can't even reach past.
Yeah,
He struggles to reach past his knees.
that's me
right?
as well.
And I got to this point through doing yoga daily, and it was just 10 minutes. It started off with 10 minutes of yoga daily,
Mm.
and then it got to a point where I was doing more like intermediate yoga, yoga routines, and then it got to a point where I was trying advanced yoga routines where it was focusing on the hip flexors, hip opening, and that's how I got to that point. And it's helped me personally through my journey with my lifting
Mm.
and just my whole physical wellness.
Mm.
And he was asking me, how long did it take you to do that?
Mm.
How long do I have to do those things to get there? Like, is it gonna take about 2 weeks, 2 months? I'm
Mm.
like, this is something you gotta do consistently,
Consistent,
daily,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can't expect for results to happen immediately, especially with something you haven't done ever. Because
Yeah.
yoga, when I first did yoga the first time, it was so hard.
Mm.
And one of the biggest things for me that I noticed that helped me do those poses a lot better,
Mm.
and to get my flexibility now, I'll say, like, my flexibility isn't the best, but I would say it's pretty decent for my body type.
Yeah, and that's
And
what matters as well. It doesn't really matter whether you're the most flexible person ever in the world.
yeah,
It's where did you start?
Exactly.
And where are you now? Like,
it's hard, man.
It's
It's
so-
hard, right? So even with this growth journey now, as us as communicators, we have our own goals. We're not gonna say what they are, but we know what it takes. We see it, we realize it, and we're taking steps to do it now.
Yes,
And
correct.
it's only been 1 week since we noticed these things, right?
Mm.
So it's gonna take us time to get to that point, but we're not gonna give up just because a week hasn't passed and nothing's changed.
And then we set the problem is with most people, they set this time limit to themselves. Like,
Exactly.
I need to achieve this within 2 weeks. I need to achieve this within 1 month. Like the same as that guy. He was asking, how long is it going to take? You shouldn't set ever a time if it's just part of the journey. No
Right.
matter how long it takes, you just got to
Yes.
be diligent in doing
100%.
it until, if you really want it, you'll do it.
Exactly. When I think having a timestamp is necessary also, because it creates urgency. But I think with something that you haven't necessarily done before and are trying to improve,
Yes.
that's when you need to have patience for the results to happen.
Yes.
Something in similar to a certain goal, a certain achievement, as in, how would I say this? Maybe a certain X amount of followers or X amount of sales. That's more of an urgency timestamp type of
Yeah.
goal, where something as similar to your flexibility, your health, that's more something, it's a journey of process and patience of time, doing the work still, but not focusing on the results happening in a certain time limit.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. If you know the things that you need to, like the variables, like if you're doing it for the first time, you don't know all the variables that you need to take into consideration. If you have done it before, in terms of sales, there's hard numbers. you know how to get to that certain goal, you can put that deadline or that time frame.
Right. So with the book Mindset, and she was talking about, doing different challenges, right?
Mm.
But in this sense, because yoga's not something, or it's something you want to do, but you've never done before, it's not necessarily something you can place a time on, and that's all right. You shouldn't be frustrated if you can't reach this point at X amount of time.
Yes.
But if you give up that moment there, who's to say you could have got it the next day, right?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
Are you willing to do the one more, the
Yes.
one more step, the one more extra exercise, the one more rep,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And it's like when I'm at the gym, when you have mates pushing you, and they say, I hate it sometimes because they'll be like, they'll say, oh, how many reps you doing? I'll be something like something of a number around 3 to 5, and they'll say, okay, do 5, and it's like, damn it, I shouldn't have said 3 to 5. I should have just said 3, and then they'll say, all right, just do this amount, right? But then when you do that rep, you try to push yourself for the one more, and it feels so much better than doing the 3, the 2 to 5, and you do 6.
It does,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
It's a good feeling when you're able to push your limit.
Exactly.
Because if you didn't have that person say, okay, you set your goal 3, I want to do 5. They tell you do 5. In your head, you already put that limit as 3.
Yes.
But then you don't realize until later. You're like, oh, actually,
I could have done
5.
This. Yeah.
That's one of the things. It's kind of like a love-hate. Because when I exercised with you before, I remember you were saying, I told you I was gonna do say 6, and then you're like, cool, and then I was doing it, and then you would say one more. You still got it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, he knows
Exactly. You know yourself. I even try to push my mates to do that too, but sometimes it's hard because you know body fatigue. But it's like it's what David Goggins says. No, he doesn't like it. He says when you want to give up, you still have 30% left in your tank.
Yes.
30%. That's a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
That's a lot to think you have 30% left, because it's that mindset push, right? It's that mindset push. It's hard. It's hard though, but it's something you train.
So actually, that's a good. I wanted to ask, why do you think people set their limit so underneath what they're capable of? So when people like David Goggins says there's 30% more that people can.
I like that.
Is it 30% more?
Yes. I would say I think that was the number he said. I think it was 30%. And to answer the question, I can't. This is all like speculation, and this is from what I thought from myself. It's very comforting, right? When you set a goal that you know is achievable, but you don't push yourself. I achieved it. I didn't have to push myself, right? Because I achieved it. I didn't have to prove anything else, right? So I think it's more of a comfort thing as opposed to challenging themselves. Because if they challenge themselves and they fail, they might feel, oh, I didn't do it. I feel like crap. I should have just stayed on 10. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of ego, but if it's like, come back to the book Mindset, she talks about this. Like she talks about pushing yourself to those limits and why, and I try to remember this, but I think she mentioned right about that comfort. It's being comfortable with what you can achieve and knowing I don't have to try any harder than this. I know I can achieve it, and that's why I'll go for this number. Whereas those who push themselves and they fail, they're like, okay, I got maybe this amount of. Maybe next time around, what could I do better? Maybe I don't do this, or maybe I don't do that, or maybe I do this a different way. So it's kind of just analyzing why you failed at that point, as opposed to saying I failed. I should have just stuck with this because I know what I would have achieved there, right? It's the what ifs. The what if? Oh, what if I just stayed at this number? I know it's achievable. What if I just did that? I know I could accomplish it. But I didn't push myself.
Yeah, they're two completely different mindsets.
Yeah.
Two opposite ends of the the spectrum. I know with Kobe Bryant, when he talks about failures, he always talks about it being lessons.
Mm.
And if you go into everything, any failure being lessons, then that's where growth happens.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And that's the hardest part, really seeing those failures as lessons, because it hurts your ego, right?
It does.
It hurts your self-image when you fail.
Mm.
You don't want to show yourself to anybody because you found yourself as a failure, and you might
Mm.
feel the judgment of others. They might talk
Mm.
and criticize you for what you did, for failing, right?
Yeah.
Like we
The
felt
vulnerability.
the
is there.
vulnerability, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We felt that before when you're in school and you didn't get the grade that you wanted. It's like, why?
Yeah. And you're embarrassed to show
Yeah.
anyone. Like, oh, what grade did you get?
Exactly.
Oh.
You know, when the teacher gives you the paper and she
Yeah.
turns it over before she gives it to you, you
No.
know you failed. It's like, oh damn! And then you're like,
Then someone asks, oh, what did you get? Not good.
Yeah. It's alright. I pass. I'll pass. And
Yeah.
and then you do like the background style. You
Yeah.
like slowly flip it over and you see the lines. It's like,
Yeah. Deep down, you're crying.
yeah.
And
then you lie about
smashed when I get home.
and then you lie about when you get home.
Yeah.
It's, oh, well, how's your report? Yeah, it was good. Can I see it? It's like, no. The teacher kept it. You know,
It's delayed. It's delayed.
it's delayed.
It's coming later, but it just never. Pick
It
it
just
up.
never comes, right?
Yeah.
Also, yeah, that's something we're trying to do, right? Overcoming challenges, knowing when to push ourselves. How much do we push ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we push through that barrier of the 30% when we want to give up?
Mm.
It's hard because depending on whatever task you're doing, it could be different, right? Your mentality is going to be different.
Mm.
But continuing on, another thing that struck me in that conference that really made me think about a lot of things was this one line this person said. She said, prepare your children for the path, don't prepare the path for your children. And it was like, wow, you know, we have to teach them, give them knowledge, give them wisdom from our experiences, but not force them to do this way, to like navigate their life for them, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like that helicopter parenting, I think it is, when they just always
They're hovering over.
just hovering over you, just watching your every step. And you know, as a child, you'd want to do the opposite, right? It's an inclination for us humans to do the complete opposite. It's similar to when I was at a mate's house and he has on his fridge this one section is like, do not touch.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, I really want to touch those drinks that says do not touch, right?
Yeah.
And if there's a button that says do not touch,
yeah,
you want to
big
touch
red
that button, right?
Mm.
As you go to a museum, do not, you just want to touch that like dinosaur,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
That inclination to go the opposite way of what's said,
Yes.
right? So it's, and it made me. She asked these questions. It's like she asked this question, and it was, what is your dream? What is your dream gonna be like for your children? How's it gonna affect them? And it's kind of that legacy mindset of is what you're pursuing gonna be beneficial for your children, for the offspring to come? Is it gonna benefit your family? And it's kind of a realization that we need to think about, right? It's a necessary thing to think, what we're doing gonna benefit for the people around me as well. It's not such a selfish pursuit, you know. What was that called? Success is this becomes successful, like your dreams and passion become successful when you're helping others and others are winning through what you're doing, right?
I think that's true success, when you're able to put the things that you want to do and it helps other people in some sort of way. I think that's success.
Yes, definitely, right? You don't want to live a life where you achieved all this for yourself and then what, everyone else behind you has nothing.
Yeah,
you're just living in glory for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like what you said about, like, you shouldn't, as oh, we're not parents, obviously, but they, for me, when it does happen, there was one thing that I remember hearing someone say is like, when you shouldn't be telling your children, you should be listening to the children. They should be heard more than you
Yes.
telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Allow them to make the mistakes on their own
Exactly.
instead of being controlling of, because pretty much you're just really, he was talking about like authentic voices. Kids have like authentic voices when they're
They
growing up.
do.
They don't have any filter.
They do.
They're learning on these things on their own, and then we kind of just trap them and filter them and put them into these boxes.
Exactly.
No, I want you to live your life like this to the what I believe is right.
Yes.
And of course, parents are doing it because they believe it's the right thing to do. But the children are also capable of much more than the parents believe. Like
Exactly.
it's almost like not degrading children to say like they're not able to achieve without the parent and stuff. But you should let them learn from their own mistakes, because putting them into a box, you're not letting them explore or become better than, or outside of, like, they can be better than or greater than what they believe in if instead of putting restrictions on them. Yeah.
Exactly right. It's where we're creating these barriers for our children, like these similar to safety nets that are really preventing them to learn for themselves, right? And I think for us, I found the greatest growth when I was finding mistakes for myself. And they're the most eye-opening when you experience something and you realize, wow, I should have done this or I should have done that. And you just critically criticize yourself. It hurts. It hurts because you get in your own head. And that can destroy you if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the positive mental attitude to get through it. That's when it's hard. I think that's when one thing I realized, I know this is going to be hard. It's what I thought for myself when I was in those depressive states. I was just in my head. I was, how we're writing our story, right? We're reflecting on all the things that happened in our life. And sometimes when I was writing it, I kind of forgot those dark periods. Obviously, there's some that you remember. But when in that period of time, I remember it being so much more darker. I remember visualizing my head in a deep, dark hole, all alone, right? And you could see this little dot of a light.
A little light.
And looking back on it now, I just realized a lot of those things, I was just in my head. I was nitpicking the smallest, and every little bit that happened, I victimized myself. I put myself in those situations where I was saying to myself that I was just harming myself, pretty much. Right? And I think it's a dangerous part. That's why having these mental attitudes, you grow through it. I'm not saying to always stay positive, because the optimists will always get their hearts broken. And that I heard that the other day, and I was mind blown. And it's so true. The optimists will get their hearts broken, because I learned it's just an interesting topic. It's called the Stockdale paradox. Have you heard of it?
No, never.
So it's Admiral Stockdale. He was a Vietnam prisoner, and he was in the Hanoi Hilton, and pretty much they couldn't speak to any of the other prisoners, right? And he came to this realization of the duality of life. It's believing you're going to overcome this, but realizing the brutal truth, right? He is here in a prison, but he believed in himself that he's going to get out someday, and he has a greater purpose. Whereas those who were optimists who were saying, oh, we're going to get out of Christmas. And Christmas came and they never got out. It just broke them down. It broke down their mental so much, because they couldn't accept the brutal truth of we are here
Yeah.
and we don't know when we're gonna get out.
Mm-mm.
But what I know is I will have that belief and I will keep fighting every day for that purpose.
Mhm.
Similar to Viktor Frankl and in the book The Man's Search, meaning he was imprisoned during the Holocaust, right? And one thing I got from the book was that your mindset, one thing they can't take is your imagination.
Mm.
And it was just every day it was painful seeing the most brutal killings and just people turning on each other, but it didn't degrade him because he imagined of what was going to come after. And that's why imagination is so powerful too. We need a mixture of things, not just one thing is going to help us to get out of those problems in life. So people might believe hard work is the sole thing, but I like to think of if you got the ladder on the wrong wall and you work so hard to put that ladder there and you're climbing it, you're still climbing the wrong wall. But if you have clarity and direction, you know that ladder is on the right wall and you know where that ladder is leading to.
And that's where you need a lot of self-reflection.
Exactly.
A lot of time alone, a lot of time to think about what's important to you.
Exactly. And that's why for me a lot of journaling and self-reflection has helped. Right?
Yeah.
So I just trying to remember the why we started this journey with Okiru. Why it got started. I think even writing our stories helped that, and it's kind of like a journal in some sort, but it's more of just kind of our narrative for us to look back on. So say if we look back 5 years from now, what would our life look like? And we read this and we're so much better. It's like, it's going to be, wow, I can't believe I had this mindset before. Because I'm having that feeling now. I look back 5 years from now, from before, and life was completely different. My mindset was completely different. And I realized I feel so much better where I am now. Even though I don't have the ideal lifestyle, I know for myself I'm a lot happier than where I was before.
To see how far we've come.
Exactly. Just seeing how far you come.
Yeah, because I don't even, for myself, looking back at that time, I've kind of forgotten about it too. I put myself so far away from that point that I'm just like, don't even recognize it.
Exactly. It's a good story to tell. It's a memory we'll have. And what I was telling to myself before is these experiences, good and bad, is for us to have wisdom for ourselves that we can share to others.
Yes.
And it's a validated experience. Yeah. So we can understand people. We can understand. We're not going to understand everything because we're still young. We still have a lot to experience. But from what we've experienced, we can do our best to help others.
Yes, definitely. The good thing about having experienced all that is that we can put ourselves in those people's shoes where I was the same as well. I was victimizing myself a lot. I was blaming a lot of things on other people. Why did they do this to me? Why did this person, why isn't this person helping when I need it the most? In reality, I didn't even need that person to be there. I needed myself to be there for myself, but I wasn't. I was trying to get help from other people where I wasn't there for myself. And yeah, that's the one thing that we can, when people are in that dark space and we're in that situation, the one thing that we've learned is to always just listen. We're not there to give a solution, we're just there to listen.
Exactly.
And then they on themselves can, work through that, find themselves. We're not going to have the solution.
Exactly right.
But we're going to be there to be there for them
100%.
in any way we can.
Yeah, I don't think we hold the solutions for anyone's problems. I think everyone has their own solution to their own problems. It's just they have to work towards it. They have to find it. But yeah, we'll continue this on another time because our guest is here.
That was deep.
That was deep.